following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Campin' Out, broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys training camp on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. And now your host, Shannon Gross.
Thank you, Brad. Shannon Gross, Nate Newton, and very, we've had some good guests on here, and not to throw shade at DJ SC or Bucky Brooks or Newey or Nick Eatman, but today's guest tops them all. We would like to first off, how you doing, Nate?
Hey, man, do your thing, man. You going on a great road.
Okay.
Don't stop that road, bro. I'm loving that road.
Let's just get to business with the great friend of the show, Will McClay. Welcome to the show, Will. How you doing?
Hey. Wow, man, that's big time.
Big time.
Put your mic a little closer.
Okay, I'll put it a little closer. There we go.
Let's hear that bass in that voice. How you been, man?
Good.
You look good.
Good. I'm trying to work on it. I got my Nate starter kit on. I'm trying to get right, ride the bike.
You look
all that.
fit. What are you doing to stay in shape out here at camp?
Well, I'm doing a little bit of walking. Just I got a secret called the Bionic Gym.
Bionic Gym.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it later.
Okay, off the air?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to hear about this. Well, Will, let's get into it. It's not going to be anything but rapid-fire questions for 30 minutes because there's so many things to get to. First question I have, what young guys have jumped out to you, rookie or second-year guys? Who's making a name for themselves out here?
Justin Hamilton has jumped and stood out on the defensive line as a young guy. You're seeing good things from Bohanna. You're seeing good things from Kamara, on the defensive side. I think that, we look at it offensively. You're seeing growth in a couple of guys. Sed's been here for a while, but Sed's stepping up. Malik's stepping up. Guys.
Malik who?
Malik Turner.
Nate's going
I'm not changing.
That's my pet
You
cat.
can get the wide receiver Coach Adams up here, and my first five I ain't changing. Them other guys, they better take my first five job.
That's a battle. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So those are
Well, we're seeing some good things from young guys. Like you're seeing, some good things from Joseph. You're seeing some good things from Nashawn Wright. Fajoko's starting to step up. So we're seeing good things from the young guys.
Fajoko now, go a little further. Fajoko, the receiver?
Yes.
Okay, because, I guess don't know.
Semi Fajoko.
Yeah, they don't know. But go ahead on. You did a better job of pronouncing
but
than I did.
I think the biggest thing is the competition from the young guys. I mean, it's going to be that's what it's all about. And what we always try and do is to build it where there's competition because last year showed us that you can never have enough. So let's stay strong and healthy, but you bring in that competition. It brings out the best in them.
Let me ask this question. And it's a general question. You've probably been asked it 1,000 times. What is different coming out of a pandemic year and you got a chance to put your hands on players a little better?
I think you answered it right there. Is being able to put your hands on them. I mean, last year we drafted guys. We didn't have the opportunity to be around them, find out what they were all about, not only as football players, as people. So the more time you spend around them, you get to understand their personalities and how to coach them, how to talk to them, how to get the best out of them, what competition does to them. The preseason games will be big. So being able to get the guys in front of you and to see them play and to put them in those stress environments, you find out more about who they are.
Seems to me, and this is probably just a perception thing because maybe I'm just paying more attention, but it seems like you guys have more depth, more guys stepping up in more positions this year. Usually it's like, okay, this position group is going to be hard to determine who's going to make the team and who's not. This year it seems like wide receiver, there's going to be a battle to make the team. Tight ends group is looking good. It's going to be a battle. DBs are looking good. We all know the linebacker room's already crowded. Yes. Offensive line's looking pretty good. Do you look at the biggest position battle where it's going to be the hardest to make decisions when it comes to final cuts?
I think we have really good quality numbers in the D line in the front, and there's a lot of linebackers, and the safety position as we start, we add guys, it becomes competitive there. And I think the best thing is that we have 4 preseason games. It's great to go against each other. We've been going against each other for a while now. We know each other's checks and signals and calls some of those things, and there's install. But now it's the competition. Are you able to execute? Okay, we know about the physical ability. Now it's about executing what you're supposed to in those games.
Wow. And so how do your day start? I mean, I just want to get into Will a little bit. How does your day start as a pro personnel director over everything?
We get up in the morning. It's a 365-day deal. It's trying to improve the team. So what we'll do is get up in the morning and this is a unique situation. Like last year, well, not last year, but every year, all the scouts come out. This year, because of the numbers with COVID, the college scouts had to stay in Dallas, so they were operating from the Star, and we would have meetings at 7:30 in the morning, our time, 9:30 back home. We'd meet for 2 hours, to kind of talk about the way that we're going to do things, and it's a unique challenge this year. Last year was a challenge because we didn't get to put our hands on people. Right. Now, coming up for the college draft, all the guys, so many kids came back, there's twice the amount of draft-eligible players this year. So we're talking about how we're going to do that. Then we'll watch practice, or we'll talk about, the roster, what's going on. We review other teams' rosters. We go through a process now before teams start playing games, is looking at the 90 that they have on their roster, kind of have a checklist of who's making it, who's not, at least generally. So if we can figure out 60% of the team, now we find out what our needs are, and these are the players that we have to watch on each team. College scouts, not only do they go out on the road to get ready for college, they're also part of our preseason scouting. So they'll have a team that they're responsible for. So we go over the teams and we do all that. And then it's, we watch practice. We go out to practice, we watch it, then we watch it again. Then there's meetings. It's going into the meetings, trying to not understand what we're doing, but also it's a great lesson for us as scouts is to find out what they're like in the meeting room, who's picking up what, how do they take notes, what questions do they ask. All those sort of things is what we do, and that's the day, and then we'll have a staff meeting, and then we go back and we watch more tape.
So how many people does that take more because the load is bigger for your college, or do you still do that with the same number of guys? And if you don't mind me asking, how many guys up under your leadership?
Last year we had 6 area guys, and the area scouts, we split the country up into 6 different parts. And they're responsible for their area. They stay in that area kind of year after year. They start to have their source as well. This year, and we had 2 in-house scouts last year. So what we've done is we've made 8 areas so that we can cover the country better with the numbers coming out. So that's kind of how we do it. And then we have 3 guys over the top that are national guys outside of the 8 areas on the college side. And then we have 6 guys in pro.
Wow.
Well, you started the Will McClay question, so I have a Will McClay question.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
You coached the Desperados for how many years?
I couldn't even tell you, for a while.
A lot?
A lot.
What do you like coaching better or the role that you're in now?
They're both great, but the coaching side is you get to be in it every day. I love the teaching aspect of it. That's what I miss the most. Is teaching and being in there every day and making guys better. The personnel side, you're not hands-on day to day, but now it's gathering information. It's looking at yourself. It's trying to put it in a way that you state what the player's good at, what his areas of concern, and then you got to see and hope that you're right, on the personnel side. That's the hardest part there. But putting together a team and having a hand in putting this team together that's a very exciting thing for me because of the story, the franchise, the history, and what we've been through and trying to get back there. And I want to be a part to build it to help us get back to that point.
Walk me through, because I don't even know the answer to this. Walk me through, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? Did you play sports growing up? How did you get in? Give us the progression of how you got here.
I grew up in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Started playing football when I was 7 years old, and I played all sports. Went to high school in Houston, and I went to Rice. Went there. I had a couple cups of coffee. Wasn't good enough. Played arena football for 4 years. Did a year in Canada, and then I started coaching. Well, after I got done playing, I went into corporate America.
What position did you play?
I played receiver and DB. I was a corner coming out.
Okay.
I know I look like a nose guard right now, but a corner coming out. And I went into corporate world for a little while, to use my rights degree. And then I said, I need to get back in football because that's where I grew up. That's all I knew. So I started coaching arena football, did that for several years in a bunch of different spots. Then I got in the personnel side in the XFL in 99 or 2000, the first XFL. And then that next year in 2000, I was with the Jaguars. And then the arena team started, and I had a chance to come back home, and I've been here ever since.
Nice. I didn't know that story.
See, I'm going to tell you something.
Tell me.
I love you, man. And that's
But, here comes a but.
No. But anyway, Will, let me get back to that part. Hey, Will. Now, and this is a pretty tough question. And you know me, man. If I don't get an answer, it's fine. But I have to ask this question, man.
Uh-oh.
And I asked you this question the other day. Will walked up to me and said, Will, we got 89 linebackers, and it ain't 89 packages. And I try to express to people, it's going to come down to who's the better guy. Because how many linebackers in today's society, how many times do you see 3 linebackers on the field? There's always some type of nickel situation, some hybrid situation. And I know you can't give us exacts, man, but what do you think about that? I mean, I know it's a good thing to have 1,000 linebackers, but it's not going to end up that way, right?
I don't think it'll end up that way. And, when we talk about the roster and there's a bunch of guys you like and we love, the saying is it'll all take care of itself throughout the process. But, it's competitive there. And not only is it competitive from the linebacker standpoint, when you talk about all the sub packages you play, well, then there's safeties and nickels that have to play like linebackers.
Yes.
So it's about the matchups. It's about the versatility. It's about who can do the most roles for your team. We got to cover a bunch of tight ends this year. A bunch of high-level tight ends who can cover, but who has range in the box, in the coverage, who can fit down in the box, all those things. That's going to be the big mix of which ones make the roster because they're all very talented.
See, this football team, and I want to say this carefully. Each team.
That's a first.
I have to, man, because this big week. Each team, we know who they are. Cowboys, offense. Redskins, defense.
Watching football
Kansas City, offense. Is it harder to scout from that point of view, knowing that, okay, you got these great offensive players and the money is there? Is that kind of hard to do? Y'all don't even think about when you scout.
You think about it when you're scouting. Like for us, it's we scout. We need to know. You got to win your division, so you have to know your division.
Yes.
It's about the NFL now is about matchups, and there's a lot of spread scoring. Want the speed, so you've got to match your division first. Right. Then you look at the schedule and you see who you're playing, and you're trying to get to Coach McCarthy talks all the time about we're trying to get to December football where it matters. So we need to have guys. We need to be able to match up with people, offensively and defensively, and you've got to try and correct the cap. Certain teams will spend larger amounts of money on a lot of teams go to the offense because number one, the quarterback makes the most money, and then the other positions around it. But you have to even it out defensively with your talent, and you got to have depth in that deal. And so what we try to do is get the best football players in the most competitive environment, and then we let those guys compete and go at it. But we want to have, as you see, we've gotten longer, we've gotten bigger as a football team defensively. You want to be able to stop the run, but you also want to be able to create turnovers, create havoc against the pass. So we're looking for those elements to compete with the offenses the way they are now.
You talked about the 2 young defensive tackles. And the first time the second time I talked to Coach Quinn, the first time, you dapped up, But the second time I said, Coach, I got to ask you this, man. The big kid from Kentucky and Hamilton, what are you going to do with him? How do you find reps? And he said, Nate, it's simple. Preseason, every base package, I hope to have them on the field because that is what I'm asking them to do.
Yes.
And I think, I'm not saying last year I'm going to let go, but the roles are more defined. I think when talking to the coaches now, the roles are more defined in what they want players to do. I think last year maybe the roles were defined, but it just never seemed to come together.
Well, it's like you started the question with not last year, not having camp, not having preseason games. You know, you put the staff together, they come together quickly. You don't get to see the players. You don't get to know what they're about. And then you got, 4 weeks before you play a game, and you don't have any games to judge them off of. Right. So that was part of the deal last year. But I think, in realizing that we needed to go, in a different direction, we hit the ground running with that. DQ came in with the staff and talked about what they needed, how they were going to use players. He wanted, in order to help the run defense, we wanted to get bigger. So what's the role? Because on the personnel side, if I got too many big guys who can't rush the passer,
right.
that does you no good on the 53. So it's also how those players are utilized and then what the vision of their role is. And Dan was very clear with what he was looking for, how he would play them, and if we got a player, say for example, we had linebackers, Micah Parsons there. How do you use him? Well, he goes in the lab. This is how we use what we have. Right. So I think that's a little different this year, and because of the time that we've had, we put into the players, but also the whole process and what we were. We know we have to improve the defense, and so we went into that with eyes wide open as to how we do that.
Okay, and with the new rule of where y'all start at early and y'all have to go straight through, has that been the players have been fresh and been ready to go. But has that helped you all as scouts and coaches, or y'all just still overtime?
It's still overtime. I think the schedule was really made for the players to get them off of their feet and to protect them. And it's squunching things down. We're used to it being stretched out a little bit more. So it's just, we have to work in a faster pace with the way the schedule is. But, the hours are still the same.
You brought up earlier, you got to win the division and you got to know your opponents. And I never really thought of it like this, but not in great depth. Do you ever look at matchups? We got to face these guys twice a year, so we need somebody that can cancel this out. When you guys are looking for players and setting the roster, how big of a factor is like individual matchups? Like we've got to cancel this linebacker out on this team, or he's going to kill us. Or they've got this tight end, we've got to have a linebacker that can cover. How much does that come into conversations when it comes to the roster?
That's more on the coaching side, but we look at what's playing in the league. What the trends are or whatever. And, because 11, we talked about when Nate was playing, you had 3 linebackers. You had the Mike, the Sam, the Will. They were on the field all the time, the whole deal. Well, you look at, your packages and those sort of things. And you pay attention to how you match up. And you see, like teams in our division are built to go against us. Like the Washington football team, the Giants, the Eagles, their fronts were built because of our offensive line. So you do pay attention to those things when you're putting together the team.
And when we came into the league, the Giants made us, into who we are because they had Lawrence Taylor and all those great Rodgers and they had another big Hall of Fame. I think I'm from South Carolina State, but
Harry Carson.
They had a lot of great players. And Jimmy saw them one time. We was it was first and goal. And we got out to the 4th down, and Jimmy said, I'm going to find out today. And they stopped us. And the strength coach got fired. We retooled offensive line, and all of a sudden we just became maulers. We brought Norv in, and our whole thing was built off of what the Giants were.
And it's the identity of our team. Yeah. You establish the identity of your team. We want to be offensively, we're going to be explosive. We're going to be able to control the ball when we need to. Defensively, we have to be able to match with our offense. And we got to match with the other teams. And so we got bigger, longer, faster. That's what we're trying to do defensively. We got to play with speed nowadays.
So, now, and I know this is a way away question and maybe not the right question for you, but who is our biggest and baddest NFC opponent? I'm talking about in the East. Who do you think? Because I hate them all, but is it one team that you say, boy, watch out?
Well, to me, I think that the football team, Washington football team, because of their front, and I'm looking at it from a personnel standpoint,
right.
They weren't great for so long. They got a lot of good picks. They invested those picks in the defensive line.
Right.
Their defensive line can change the game.
Yes, they can.
And so you look at things that way. I think that, the Eagles they play with a lot of speed. They got some defensive talent. They've been injured on the offensive line, so they got to revamp that. The Giants, whenever you have Saquon Barkley, you have issues. He's a great player. But the other teams in the division, like the Redskins, got a track team at receiver. So,
okay.
That's why it's the NFC East. That's why it's up and down, is the battles that go on there and the matchups there. The thing for us is if we can be consistent and consistently win our division and be better than the tip opponents in our division, now we got a shot to get to the next level. So I think that's our goal. You take care of the other games, but you got to win those division games.
Starting off the season against Tampa Bay, best team in the league last year, Super Bowl champions, is that, from a personnel standpoint, do you like coming out and playing the best to kind of gauge where you're at? Or would you rather have that game been 4 or 5, 6 games into the season where you could ramp up and have some time to gel? Does it even matter?
You got to play them when they're on the schedule. Whoever it is, however it is. There's nothing we can do about that. It's on the schedule. We got to go play.
Right.
I think it's a great test for where we are.
Mm-hmm.
That will be a great test to start the season. But there's 16 more after that. I was going to say 15, but there's 16 more after that. But you begin to figure out where you are, and that's the regular season. Now it all starts, and I think we have a lot to prove. We didn't have the best showing last year, and the guys are hungry, and there's not paying attention to. It's one thing I've seen from this team is not paying attention to what's said on the outside. And you bring in this new, fresh group of talent, and then you make it competitive. What you got to worry about is today. And I think that's the way the guys are approaching it. And I think if we continue to take those steps, there's going to be a big upswing in how we play and the results going on down the season.
You say 16 more. That 17th game, a lot of people don't know how important that's a deal breaker for most teams.
Yes.
Because now the bodies. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the right bodies at the right place and some unfortunate things happen, that extra game can hurt you.
Yeah, it does. And that's, the league has helped us with the extra game and with some of the things that we've gotten from the COVID rules, okay, the expanded practice roster. So now I've got 15, 16 guys on the practice roster that if things happen, not only can they fill in, but we're also able to build our young talent, keep that young talent, continue to grow. And when those injuries happen, now you don't want to go out on the street. Hopefully you have those guys, and we structure that practice roster in a way where we got young guys who can develop and can step in and play in a role if we need them.
What is your favorite thing about camp out here in Oxnard and your least favorite thing? And maybe not necessarily Oxnard in general, but just camp in general.
Favorite thing about camp is this is what we do. It's all ball. There's not a lot of other things distracting you when you're in camp. My favorite thing to do is get up every day and be ready to work and, see guys go and compete. Mm-hmm. And out here it's the wonderful weather. The worst part about camp coming out here is like I sleep about 3 hours a night, and I'm all jacked up, so I'm all screwed up on sleep.
And about the time you get acclimated out here,
we go
back.
Home. Yeah.
How much are we going to see you on Hard Knocks this year?
I don't know. Not very much. I try and stay away from I'll let the stars be
Have you been mic'd up yet?
No, I have not been mic'd up.
Are they going to mic you up?
I don't think so. I hope not.
No?
I don't want my mom to hear me cuss.
I got a question. Do you like the abbreviated preseason and the big gap before you have to make those cuts? Or is there a gap now that you have to make that you evaluate those guys?
Yeah, there's three cut cycles, so that gives you more time. And then you have, after that last game, you have a week to get everything together and, see how things transpire. So I think hopefully it'll be helpful, because what we've done in the past is when it's final cuts, that's a day where we don't sleep for that time of the year. We don't sleep for 3 days. We because you're going through every roster, you're combing every roster to find if somebody's cutting somebody that can improve your roster. Because you got to turn them in. They get cut at like 3 o'clock on Saturday, and then we have to turn in claims at noon on Sunday. So the build up to all of that has been a burden. But I think we'll see. I don't know. I haven't been through it yet, but hopefully this will be better.
The first date is down to 85 on August 17th. The second date is down to 80 August 24th. And then 53 by August 31st.
Yeah, the one to me is because we have 4 preseason games. When you have those cuts, but when you get down to that last preseason game, guys are fighting for jobs. Do you have enough healthy bodies that you want to play.
Yes.
Compared to the ones that you want to sit and save and get ready for the regular season. So that's still kind of a deal with me, is like having the right number of bodies, to be able to play that last game and play it at a high enough level where you can evaluate.
In this first preseason game, this Hall of Fame game we're traveling to tomorrow, what are you guys, from a personnel standpoint, obviously who performs, right? But what else are you guys looking at in these preseason games when it comes to filling out the roster? Is it just strictly performance? Is it hey, is this guy slowly progressing? Is it, how they study, how they watch film? What does the preseason help you guys do?
All the things that you said. The biggest one to me is you get to see who's going to compete. You're seeing another team. You're making adjustments off of what they do. So it's, can I transfer what's on the board to what's on the field? And now what's on the field in full speed with bullets flying, the real bullets flying. It's the competitive nature. It's how guys respond to when they get their butt whipped. How guys respond to when there's success. It's the bounce back stuff. It's that football character that you look for in those games. It's who's going to compete and who's going to shrivel up when it's time. Mm-hmm. That's the big one that that's what the preseason games are.
I hope they don't shrivel up, Coach. That's
I hope they don't either.
Sight, man.
I hope they don't either. I hope they don't either. But it happens, man. Hey.
I have a question for Will.
Yeah.
I have a question. So I want to know.
Wait. This is Will on Will question.
Will.
I want to know, does the size of the draft class, having 11 draft picks, put more pressure on the free agents that you guys acquired, or veteran players on the roster? Because teams tend to want to keep the draft picks.
Yeah, it puts pressure on us to make sure we did our job right initially and got the right talent here. And then how does that talent fit into what we do? Now, having those picks, it gives you more guys to choose from. The draft and picking up free agents, it's not an exact science. It's people. You're betting on people, but you're putting them into an environment with other people. You got to see how they mix within that, and so you're building a culture. And do those guys fit into the culture? Not only do they have to have the ability, but do they fit into the culture? Do they do things the right way? Are they guys that you're going to count on? And you look at every instance and every meeting to kind of give you a little more insight into, does this dude check the box? And it puts pressure on everybody. That's what competition is. You guys are out here competing in what we're doing here. It brings out the best in you. You're trying to have your best show. The competition is going to bring out the best in everybody. And if it doesn't, then you don't need to be here.
You brought up good question, Will. We'll keep you. Thanks, Will. You brought up culture, and Nate and I do this little thing out on the stage. I'm sure you hear Nate screaming all the way across the practice field. Yeah, but a couple of people have asked us out there about culture, and there's questions in the past about the locker room and things like that. When you guys are evaluating guys to bring them in, how much does that play into bringing a guy in and keeping him, or the culture, the attitude, things like that? Because culture is kind of an organic thing where it just, you can't just say we're putting the right guys in here and then we're going to have a winning team. It grows and it morphs, and it's a constantly changing roster that you guys have. How much emphasis do you put in on the right, I guess, type of guy? You hear that all the time, but
it's a big part of it. The number one thing is guys play football for a living, okay? So we're looking for the right guys with the right mentality to do the job that we need them to do. And so, again, every instance of them being out here, it's being in the tough situations. It's, what Mike does with the staff and the script and the practices. There's a lot of opportunities to find out which pipe is going to bust first. And so that is a big part of it. But teammates, players know players better than any of us do, because I'm in the locker room with them. I spend time with them. And then you watch those relationships build. Like you see all the offensive linemen. When we first started, it was the 5 that had been here. They kind of have lunch, and then the other ones are together. But now, when you see all of them eating together, when you see the quarterback with them, when you see the D-line and the O-line interacting and doing those things and seeing them take up for each other, or you see the competitive periods and those things, that's all a part of building the culture. It starts off with how Coach McCarthy and it wants to build this thing and what he's looking for. He sets the stage with that, about how we practice, what we do, what we're looking for. No phones in the meeting room, all of those things. Who can follow those directions? Who's going to hold? Who are the leaders? You begin, okay, there's leaders. We got a leadership council, but who are the leaders? You look for all of those things when you're putting together. It's the talent, but it's also, as Nate can tell you, it's a unique football is one of the most unique things because we got 53 trying to be one. Okay, so the only way you do that is culturally. You're trying to find those that fit, that can do the job, number one, but that fit your culture.
Last question. You get to take it, Dave. We got to let Will get out of here.
Okay, that's why I kept hitting my phone.
You can have the last one.
Yeah.
It's all yours. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Will, for coming, man.
Hey.
God bless you, man. Glad you out here.
I'm just always great to be in the presence of great.
That's it? That's your question?
Yeah, because I'm an on-time guy. You're going to try to take him longer than
That's okay. You can.
Yeah, you can ask. Go ahead on.
No, you. He said you can. He didn't say I could. You
I don't
Did
want
you ever
to know.
see Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
And
This is what you're gonna end the show on?
It was a little
You're gonna end on this, really?
He is. Go ahead.
The little what? You talking about the?
Yeah, the little. But anyway,
The short person.
my man from Kentucky, Bohanna.
Bohanna.
I love him.
Yes.
But I don't want to jinx him. Everybody I fall in love with, I jinx.
He has.
Tell
Don't
me
jinx
about
him.
Bohanna.
He old soul.
Okay.
First of all, he's a lot older mentally than he is physically.
Right,
Now
right.
they call him old soul, but he knows what his job is. And I started watching him. In October. And Coach McCarthy came in, and as we talked about what we needed, this was during the season. I'm watching college tape, and he came in and sat down. He said, "Who's that guy?" We were looking at other guys, but you see some. I don't want to jinx him, but there's some Chester McLaughlin. There's some of those because he's a big old athlete.
Yes, he is.
He's 340 something pounds, but he's a big athlete.
Right.
And he's a big, strong, and he knows what his job is. Now he's got to prove that he can do that job. But he knows what his job is. I'm going to hang in there. I'm going to take two. I'm going to keep the linebackers clean. If I make a tackle, I do. If I don't, I'm going to do my job. That's the mentality that AD, our D-line coach, and DQ and Big Cat are putting in. And he came in with that. And, like most young defensive linemen, defensive
Rush
linemen.
the pass.
You were a young defensive lineman yourself.
Right.
Kind of
Right.
a little bit different, kind of cocky, but he is very reserved until he gets on the football field. So I'm excited to see him play because him, Urban, some of the size that we got with Gallimore, with the Diggy Zoo.
Yes.
There's the size, not only physically, the 6'5", but there's also the length and to be able to use your hands and do all those things. And Bohanna's got a unique way of, he's got 34-inch arms and he's 340-something pounds. He's 6'4", 6'5".
He's a man.
He's a man. So if he uses all that the right way, it'll be very beneficial to us. And I think, he's learning and picking things up very quickly. The other thing is you have to be smart in there. The bullets fly. And, you're going to have the down block. You got to read the center. You got to read the pad. All those things. And so he's taken that. He's done that very, very well for a young guy.
There you go, Nate. Got the best answer you could have possibly
Yeah, I did,
got.
man. But did you watch the Game of Thrones, a little physically challenged guy?
Yeah.
That's his brother.
Tyrion. You ain't right. You know what? That's okay because Tormund, the redheaded guy, his brother's out there on the field, number 44. Go look him up.
That's so true.
Exactly like him.
Oh, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Will,
It's exactly like him.
thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you, man.
It's always a
Appreciate
pleasure when
Yes,
you
sir.
come
I had
on.
to get out of here.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Love watching you guys work. That is it for Camping Out. No breaks, no nothing. Just straight hardcore football today. We will be back. Oh, it's going to be a while. We'll be back Tuesday. It's going to be Tuesday before we
I'll be
on
hanging with the
vacation?
boys. I'll be out there. Just keep checking the website. I'll
on
be out
vacation?
there.
We'll be out here somewhere. Check the website.
Yeah.
I think it's Tuesday before we actually have another regular time practice. Yeah. So, because we have the Rams on
Yeah, you're right.
Saturday.
Yeah, the
traveling
Rams.
Let's
for
give
games.
Will another round of applause.
Will McClay,
man.
thank you, sir.
Camping
That's
out.
it. Nate Newton,
Camping
Shannon
out.
Gross, Will McClay. Chris, thanks for keeping us on the air. William, thanks for the live streams. Thanks for the questions, guys. We'll be back next week.
Will
Camping
on
out.
Will, baby.
Later.
Will on
This
Will.
has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!